Okay, we're live. Sorry for the late start on the live stream. And those who are joining us live, you can ask us questions here in the chat here on YouTube. This is a little intro, a glimpse behind the scenes, if you will, into an approach called Parenting from the Inside Out. And the backstory is that during the lockdown of 2020, when I suddenly changed my whole model of how I was doing things. Normally, I'm on the road speaking at different venues. That's my bread and butter. I'm a traveling preacher man. I go on the road, and that all shut down. And I was looking for a project to immerse myself in, and I had a list of things that I wanted to work on. I had a few books that I was going to work on, and I was approached by a friend of mine, a dear friend of mine and colleague, Rabbi Levi Shem Tov from the Friendship Circle in Michigan. And he said, we have a new idea for a new initiative, and that's parenting. What do you want to do about that? And I said, you know what? I got to think about it. And I started thinking about the idea of parenting and the impact that it has, that really the world is made up of families, and every family is led, ostensibly, ideally led by the parents. And so basically, when parents start parenting better, the whole world becomes a better place. And I started to think about the ripple effect that we could have just by strengthening parents. And I told my friend Levi, okay, I'm in, let's do it. And the whole lockdown, we basically spent perfecting a curriculum along with a team that helped me to put my thoughts into a system and to organize it. And we started beta testing it with some groups, different types of groups from all backgrounds and all ages, and parents of children of all ages. And we perfected it, or as close as, everything's always a work in progress, but as close as we could get to a ready to launch state. And about a year ago, we started doing the parenting course, Parenting from the Inside Out, open to the public. This is the third time. We're starting this week, Wednesday. The women's class is on Wednesday. The men's class is on Thursday. We keep a separate class for men and for women for various reasons. Maybe I'll speak about that right now, because I do want to speak about the various different questions that people have about the course. One of the questions is, why do we have a separate men and women time slot, and are they different courses? So the answer to that is no. Essentially, they're the same exact course. The same material is presented, but the difference is men and women often process information differently, and fathers and mothers process information differently. So as far as what I'm going to present in each class each week, I present the same thing to the men as I do to the women, but the interactive part is very different. And that's an important part of this course, the interactive part. That's one reason why the course is limited. We can't just take everyone who wants to take the course. It's not like a YouTube video that I upload and it doesn't matter how many people watch it. There's an interactive element here. At the beginning of every week, we debrief and we ask what happened, how was the past week, what were your challenges, what were your victories, and it's very interactive. Plus, from class to class during the week that goes by from one class to the next, we have a WhatsApp group. And that's a special WhatsApp group just for the people who are currently taking the course, which I monitor, I would say fairly, not constantly, but during the duration of the course, I'm on the WhatsApp group several times a day to monitor and to answer questions and to facilitate conversations. So that's interactive as well. And that's why we have a limited space, how many people can take the course, because of there's just a limit to how many people I can interact with in a meaningful way at a time. So yes, there are separate men's and women's time slots for the class where there's interaction. And then there's also separate men's and women's WhatsApp groups. A question that is asked often is, what if only one spouse is taking the class? And I'll be very honest, quite often, more often than the other way, it's the wife asking what if the husband is not taking it. And for whatever reason, I'm not going to go analyze it now. It's very often that women will take these courses more often than men. I would say in the past, from the hundreds of parents who have taken it since we opened it publicly, I think about 500-600 people have taken it since we opened it publicly. It is generally about 65, maybe 70% women to 30-35% men. It is significantly more women who take the class than men. But what I will say is this. First of all, and by the way, I've had men who took the class and their wives didn't take it. It's not always that the wife takes it and not the husband. First of all, the focus of the course, and I'll speak about this a little bit more in a moment, is personal change. So even if your husband or your wife is taking the course with you, which is very nice because then you get to discuss and talk about the course and work on it together, and you can say, oh, that came up in your class, and no one in my class even mentioned that. You could have fun comparing notes. But really, because the nature of the course is personal work, you're working on yourself, even if your spouse is taking it along with you, the work that you're going to do is still internal. And the beauty of internal work is that when one person starts to change, then everyone in their network, everyone in their orbit starts reacting to them differently. So even if you're the only one changing, it's going to automatically change your relationships with everyone around you. And that's why I would say, even if you're the only one in your family taking the course, go ahead and do it, and it will have an effect. It'll definitely have an effect on you, and it'll have also an effect on others, on your spouse and on your children, which after all is the main point here. It's a parenting course. It's the effect that it'll have on the parent-child relationship. A question that people ask often is about the sources of the course. So I'm a rabbi, for full disclosure. That's my only training. I'm not secularly trained. I don't have any other type of professional training other than my rabbinic training. All of the principles in this course are from Judaism, are from Torah. Do some of the ideas align with different secular approaches? I've been told they do. I've been told by many people who took the course, that is exactly like such and such that I learned somewhere else. And my response is, okay, great. I'm glad that it aligns, but that's not where I got it from. And, I can't really comment further about that. We're taking basic, timeless, eternal ideas from our people that are spiritual ideas, that are faith-based ideas, which Jewish families have used to run and function and to operate healthy families for millennia. That's what this is about. So do some of these ideas align with what secular authorities say today? Yeah, they do, because I've been told that they do. But for that matter, I'm sure much of what we say is in conflict with what today's authorities say. And by the way, today's secular authorities are not a monolith. They disagree with each other as well. So everyone can have their own approach. It's okay for people to disagree. And that's just the nature. That's the nature of life. And what I say is that you have to pick one approach. Be consistent. Consistency, especially in parenting, in life in general, but especially in parenting, consistency is so important. So pick one approach and go with it, and don't question yourself. I think that's so important. Doubt and confusion really, really undermines a lot of, everything in life, but especially parenting, where consistency is so important, because children need consistency. It gives them a sense of security. They don't like to be told one thing one day and another thing another day. It's just very confusing for a young person who's trying to establish a sense of reality, and they're looking to their parent to help them with that. So consistency is so important. And that's why I say, take an approach and run with it. and be honest with yourself. If it doesn't work for you, okay, so find a different approach. But if you're going to take one approach, that's always the best. And, there's an expression, too many chefs spoil the broth. It's good to have one chef in a kitchen and to have one vision. And obviously that's in conjunction with your co-parent. You want to have the same vision, or at least a similar vision. But you have to have an approach. Think about it like this. How many companies would start up and get investors if they didn't have a mission statement? Or a nonprofit. Let's say you're starting a nonprofit organization. Could you start without a mission statement? And yet, how many families start with a mission statement? Very, very few, if any. You get married and you say, okay, let's do our best. But having a cohesive, coherent vision about values and goals and what our family is trying to achieve, that's our mission statement. So one thing that I can tell you that this course offers is a mission statement. Or I don't want to say it offers a mission statement, because ultimately it's up to you and your co-parent to draft that mission statement. What this course offers is, I would say, a lot of food for thought, so that you can go and intelligently and carefully compile and draft that mission statement for your family. And as I said, it's very important that it be consistent. It's very important that there be a clear vision. You can't try to be all things to all people. You can't try to satisfy all opinions. You can't try to follow all experts. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. The experts don't agree with each other. How can you agree with all of them? What we can do is have a vision for our family, a set of principles and standards that we live up to, or we strive to live up to, and against which we check our own behavior. Okay, so that's what I wanted to tell you about that. A few other questions. Let's go through them. People ask, what if I can't come to the live classes? So the answer is, you do not have to come to the live classes. However, it's very important that you catch up during the week. There are recordings of the classes. The classes are recorded because not everyone lives in the same time zone and not everyone is available at the same time. And if you're a parent, a lot of times you have something come up and you can't make the live class. So there are recordings, but the recordings are not archived forever because of privacy and other reasons. The recordings are only for during the duration of the course. So if you miss a class live, you can make it up the next day or the day after. But what I strongly encourage you to do is I know a lot of people have done this. They fall behind and then they fall behind again. And then they say, oh, I'll catch up at the end of the course. It's a process. It's a journey. It really takes a week to digest each class. And what happens during the week from class to class is you're testing it out in the actual home. You're on the WhatsApp group, talking to other parents, getting responses from them, and you're sleeping on it. Sleep is very powerful for processing ideas. You need those 7 sleeps from one class to the next to really let the idea seep in. So yes, there are recordings, but the recordings are only for the duration of the course. I want to repeat that. The recordings are only for the duration of the course. The recordings are not archived permanently. They are only there to allow you to catch up if you miss the live class, and you're strongly encouraged to make up the class sometime during that week. There's a question about what are we talking about when we say that the class comes with meditations? Okay. What are the meditations? This class is all mental. It's all mental stuff. This is not a checklist of behaviors, go stand on your head and spit wooden nickels. This is all mental stuff. It's shifts, little shifts and some big shifts of thinking. And in order to internalize these ideas, we have meditations. Now, every class, there are 6 classes in the course, every class has one big idea. And each big idea is facilitated by a meditation. It's a guided meditation with me speaking for like usually about 10 minutes, helping you to internalize the idea from the class. It's not teaching. It's different. It's a meditation. It's not a class. In a class, I'm explaining ideas. I'm talking, trying to bring out different ways of understanding an idea. The meditation is a totally different thing. It's a meditation. It's meditative. I don't want to call it hypnotic. I think it's safe to drive while you listen to them. But the idea is to take the idea and to help bring it in a deeper way. And if you haven't listened to the course, I'm not sure. If you didn't listen to the class that each meditation is based on, I'm not sure what the meditation would do for you. But if you've listened to the class and you've done the interaction and the discussion, and then you listen to the meditation, I think it's a very powerful tool. That's what our graduates have said. It's a very, very powerful tool for internalizing the big idea from each class. What are some of the other questions that we get? The age. Okay, that's a big question. Here's the thing. It is never too late. It is never too late. It is never too late to start to improve the relationship between parent and child. Not only it's not too late to start, but you must. You are obligated. You are this child's parent. Get started now. Don't worry about the past. That's not going to help us. Let's move forward. Let's start now. So we've had parents who took this course who had adult children who are all out of the house already. Now, at the same time, we've had parents who took this class whose oldest child was, I think, 2 years old. They had a toddler and an infant. Many people took this class. And I'll tell you something. It's remarkable, but the response that parents have given us, whether their children are in diapers or out of the house, is that these principles work. How is that possible? Because, again, I said this earlier, but I'll say it again. These are not behaviors. These are not to-do check-off items of do this, do this, do this, say that, say this, say this, say that. These are mental shifts. And the mental shift will allow you to understand how to carry that out into behavior in a way that's applicable and appropriate for your age child. For that matter, age isn't the only difference between children, right? Personalities differ. Abilities differ. There are so many differences between children, and it's up to you. And that's why a lot of parenting approaches that are about memorizing a bunch of tasks don't work, is because they're not tailor-made. They're not tailor-made for your child or your children. So what we do here is we give you the thinking, we give you the approach or the perspective so that you can see how to apply that in a way that is appropriate for your child's age and abilities and personality and intelligence and emotions. And I think that's very important. Now, this leads me to another point, which is about the general approach of this course. And that is that we're all about big ideas. Why? Because when you tell a person to memorize a bunch of steps, it's never authentic to the person. You're just imitating. They're just reading off of a checklist. But when you teach a person how to see things differently, genuinely to see things differently, then they figure it all out themselves and it comes out intuitively. And I think that's the main focus of this class, is that we don't want anything to be inauthentic. We don't want you to memorize anything. We don't want you to imitate anything. We want this to be authentic to you. We want this to become as simple as breathing, really. And we do that by not teaching behaviors, but by teaching big ideas. And with the big ideas, you'll organically figure out how to apply these ideas to your situation. And of course, that's what we have the interaction for in the course, and we have the WhatsApp group, is so you can talk that through and you can figure out how that application might look in real life. But the ideas are the main power of this course. Now, I just want to conclude with another point, a final point, and that's what I refer to as spiritual parenting. Why is this whole thing called spiritual parenting? I mean, maybe I understand it's a bunch of ideas, it's a bunch of paradigm shifts, but what's so spiritual about that? Why does that have to be spiritual? So here's what I want to explain. It's not that this class happens to be Jewish or has a Jewish flavor or we mention Jewish ideas. The fundamental premise of the entire course and every big idea that's in the course is spiritual. It's all based on spirituality. It's all based on the idea, I have a soul, my child has a soul, I am parenting from the soul to the soul. It's all based on the idea that there is a God, there is a creator who in his infinite wisdom chose my soul to meet my child's soul in this precise setting where I would be the caretaker, the parent, the steward who is accompanying this soul in its formative years of embodiment in the physical plane. And every idea that we teach is predicated on these beliefs. None of the ideas that we're teaching come from a secular worldview. They may very well be consistent with things that those from a secular point of view agree with, and I've been told that, as I mentioned before, many people have said that there are modern theories of parenting and child psychology which do agree with many of the ideas that we teach, and that's beautiful, that's great. But the ideas that we're teaching are all coming from and predicated upon deep spiritual beliefs. Again, that I have a soul, my child has a soul, and there is a God who chose my soul to be in a position to guide and be a teacher to my child's soul during its early years in its journey through this physical world. And everything we do in this class is based on that idea. In other words, what I'm saying is this isn't just like, taking some secular ideas and then throwing in and then say Shema at night with your kids. This is fundamentally spiritual. Now, that sounds very cryptic. So I don't want it to sound like, trying to be deliberately coy over here. So maybe I'll just be a little bit more transparent. For instance, when we talk about what is the general definition of the parental role and duty? Well, there, I gave it away. I said duty. You see, it's so embedded in my own thinking. But like when we speak about what's the general, like how do you actually define what is a parent? Who is a parent? Our perspective is based on one of the Torah giving us guidance and rules and obligations. The mitzvahs are obligations. What is my mitzvah? What is my obligation? What is my duty toward my child? That's how we view everything. In other words, a lot of times, and this is the bane of so many parents, they look at it as, why isn't my child doing this for me? Why are they not listening to me? Why can't they satisfy me? Why can't they just give me a little bit of nachas? Why can't they just give me a little bit of rest? Why are they doing this to me? Why? You hear a lot of that, complaining from parents where it's like, I didn't sign up for this. This is not what I want. This is where's my satisfaction? Where's my fulfillment? And then even you have parents, even well-meaning parents, not entirely neurotic parents, but well-meaning parents who they may not explicitly say this, but they feel frustrated that their child isn't living up to their own unfulfilled dreams. I wanted my child to do better. I wanted my child to do what I couldn't do. Most emotionally healthy parents won't exactly formulate it like that explicitly, but the feelings are still often there. And the common denominator between all these feelings that I'm describing are basically, a feeling of entitlement, parental entitlement. And if you're religious, oh boy, because then it becomes, jihad. It becomes a spiritual warfare where it's not just that I expect to be satisfied. I'm standing on my religious principles and I'm invoking the Kibbud Av V'Em card. I'm playing the Kibbud Av V'Em card. Honor thy mother and thy father. Well, where's my honor? Where you got to respect me, which is true. There is such a mitzvah, but that's your child's mitzvah, not yours. We ask ourselves, what's our mitzvah? What's our obligation? What's our duty here to help this child to grow up to be a healthier, happier, more confident child who's going to be successful religiously, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, socially, and practically in all ways. So the focus here is really about what's my mitzvah. And as you know, a mitzvah is an asinas kayach. I'll say that in English, but it is axiomatic in the Torah worldview that a divine commandment is a divine empowerment. That when God gives you a calling, it's because he has already given you the ability to carry it out. So that's the way we think. We think in terms of what are our obligations, and therefore what have we been empowered to do for our children. And that's a lot of the basic ideas. I just want to mention, if you can't come to the course, that's perfectly fine. There are hundreds of hours of parenting classes for free on my website. You can go to soulwords.org and you can look under parenting. You can search the word parenting as a keyword. You can look under topics. I think parenting is a topic under the topic heading on soulwords.org. But at any rate, you go to soulwords.org, which is the easiest place to find all of my material. And you'll find hundreds of hours of free material there. And please be my guest to consume that material. And nobody should feel that if you can't pay to be part of the course that you're missing out on some information. I'll tell you what the course gets you, which there's a reason why we charge for it. The course is giving you an organized system for somebody to go through, me, to go through with you in an organized fashion and to learn ideas in a certain system, building blocks. Each class has a big idea, and each big idea sort of leads to the next big idea. It's organized that way for a reason. So it's a very structured process, and then you're getting the interaction of how to internalize each big idea and take it to the next big idea. But I would say probably most of the information in the course, if you'll go through all of my material that's online on parenting, you'll find it here and there. It's just like, if you learn Torah, you know the difference between learning Gemara and learning Shulchan Aruch. So if you'll learn the whole Gemara, you'll learn the whole Shas. Eventually, you'll find the basis for all the halachas that we follow. But to actually get it in an organized fashion, you got to open up a Shulchan Aruch. So that's what this is. This is like somebody opening up a Shulchan Aruch with you and learning Simun and Sif and talking about how to apply it in your particular situation. But I wouldn't want anyone to feel that this information is somehow behind a paywall. This, like I mentioned before, this information is all from Torah. So the information is free. But to go through with you as a group and to guide you from concept to concept and then to help you internalize each concept in an orderly fashion and in an interactive fashion, that's something that is limited because I can only do that with a certain size group at a time. And I hope that you'll be one of those people before registration closes. Like we mentioned, the class is starting for women on Wednesday night this week and for men on Thursday night. And it goes for 6 weeks. It's a 6-week course. It'll be done before Shavuos. And that's it. Okay. If you have any questions about this or anything else, you could always email me at rabbi@soulwords.org. That's rabbi, R-A-B-B-I, at soulwords.org. And a gesunden Sommer, a healthy summer to all of you. Thanks for joining me.